Hello everyone and welcome back to another Essential Album video. This year we're doing 52 more Essential Albums, kind of piggybacking off the series we did in 2023 where it was just 52 Essential Albums. These are now 52 more Essential Albums that I really like. We're not going to have any repeats or duplicates from hopefully any of the two previous series. So we did the first series in 2023. Last year was all new albums, and this year we're doing 52 completely new or different albums at least. And this week we're taking a look at Ultraviolence by Lana Del Rey. First released June 13th, 2014. Some notable tracks on this album include Brooklyn Baby, Shades of Cool, Cruel World, and West Coast. I first listened to this album in full last year and absolutely loved it. I hadn't really listened to a whole lot of Lana Del Rey up to that point. We'll get to a little bit more of that a little bit later in the video, but I have my notebook over here. We're going to get through those notes and then get through the track list and all that. So let me just go ahead and get these notes open. So here we go. So Ultraviolence by Lana Del Rey. Again, released first June 13th, 2014. Third overall studio album. I think the second one off of a major label. So in 2010, she released her debut album. I think it was just Lana Del Rey, a.k.a. Lizzie Grant. It got pulled off of like digital storefronts and was, I don't know if it ever got like a physical release, but it got basically pulled from there, and I don't think it's ever been re-released or reissued, at least not yet. So you can find it if you seek it out, like online. But I don't think it's available like to stream off of like your normal streaming services like Apple Music or Spotify. So kind of her first major album or other major label was Born to Die from a few years earlier, a couple years earlier at least. And then I think there was like the Born to Die Paradise edition, which was a re-release of that album with some new tracks to it. And then in 2014, she put out Ultraviolence. So second major studio album, like third overall, if you count the one that is kind of like unavailable at the moment. So like I mentioned earlier, some brief history about my kind of like listening to Lana Del Rey. Like I said, I really didn't get super into her music until last year. I was familiar enough with some of her like bigger hits off of like Born to Die, like obviously that track, Video Game, Summertime Sadness. I think her cover of Doing Time by Sublime, which is off of Norman Freaking Rockwell. Amazing album. Probably my favorite album from her overall is NFR. But really got into her after listening to her, I think her most recent album, Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard. So I listened to that to kind of just get caught up on all the Album of the Year nominees for last year's Grammy Awards. So I listened to that, and I think the other, like, it was like 7 or 8 albums I listened to, all of them nominated for Album of the Year. Really liked Ocean, or I'm just going to call it Ocean Boulevard for short. Really liked it. It was kind of, for me, it was between SOS by SZA and Ocean Boulevard by Lana Del Rey. Either of those winning, I would have been completely fine with. I think like SZA had one earlier in the evening, so it made it look more likely that Lana could win for Album of the Year. But of course, that didn't happen. But and I think she probably should have won. I think it was nominated when she was nominated for NFR, because I think NFR is easily my favorite album from her. On vinyl, I own NFR and Ocean Boulevard. I think Ultraviolence will probably be the next one I pick up. But then ended up, after listening to Ocean Boulevard, just went back and listened to her entire discography up to that point. Every album, I think, like I don't have Spotify, but on my Apple Music Replay, she was my number 2 most listened to artist, like right behind the Foo Fighters. So there's no surprise there with the Foo Fighters being the number 1 ranked artist on there. But she came in at second, and like I said, listened to all their albums. I have like a really cool like playlist on Apple Music that I listen to. That is just some of her more like chilled out kind of music. A lot of the stuff off this album is on that playlist. But really got into her music just like last year. Listened to all of it, and I think probably my top three albums, at least currently, are NFR at number one. I think Ultraviolence at number two, and then Ocean Boulevard at number three. I need to go back and re-listen to her other albums like Lust for Life and Chemtrails Over the Country Club or whatever that one was called, and like Blue Banisters and all that. Need to like re-listen to some of those to get a better like figure on how my ranking is. But those are my top three currently: NFR, Ultraviolence, and then Ocean Boulevard. Anyhow, back to the back to the album. Apparently, after Born to Die came out, I think she was probably getting asked if she had any plans for other albums, and at that point, I don't think she did. I think she, in like a quote, she basically said she had kind of said everything that she really wanted to say on Born to Die, and really didn't have any plans to do a follow-up album. Eventually, like a year or so after that, I think she ended up, like just getting another album underway, doing a bunch of writing and stuff like that. Really interesting thing is Dan Orbach, I think, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, from the Black Keys. Before listening to him in the Black Keys, I know he was on, obviously he was in the Black Keys before this, but he did a song on the soundtrack to Up in the Air, the George Clooney film. And I really love that movie, and the soundtrack is really good as well. He's got a song on there, one of my favorites on the soundtrack, called Going Home. So really cool that he is kind of the primary producer on this album. There's a few other producers. I think like Greg Kurstin is on there, and he's been known for, I think, producing several Foo Fighters records, at least easily like their more recent ones. I think their like last three maybe he produced. But I have some quotes here that I wrote down that I need to bring up. And so, yeah, this was from a 2013 quote, and this is a quote from Lana Del Rey. It says, quote, "It's a little more stripped down, but still cinematic and dark. I've been working on it really slowly, but I love everything I've done. I've been writing in Santa Monica, and I know what the record sounds like. Now I just have to finish it. Musically, I've worked with the same three guys." So that's kind of like the same like producers and stuff like that. And then I think there's a demo for like Black Beauty, which I don't think is on the main album. It's on the deluxe edition. So the first time I listened to it, I just listened to the standard album. And most recently, to get prepared for this episode, I listened to the deluxe edition that has some extra tracks to it. But it says, quote, "I do feel discouraged, yeah. I really don't know what to put on the record, but I guess I could just put them on and see what happens. Each time I write, I'll never," a quote within a quote, I'll never write a song if I don't think it's going to be perfect for the record." So just some quotes there about kind of getting ready for it. Another one, I think this is some too from the same year. It says, quote, "When people ask me about it, I just have to be honest. I don't really know. I don't want to say, yeah, definitely the next one's better than this one, because I don't really hear a next one. My muse is very fickle. She only comes to me sometimes, which is annoying." I think that was the only quotes I had for that. Various genres at play here. Let me just see here. Let me just type this up. So there's like psychedelic rock, desert rock, kind of alternative, like almost pop. I think she gets classified as pop sometimes, but I find it to be more kind of like a little bit more on the alternative pop side. Like, it's not quite what I would describe as pop. I think like dream pop is kind of a genre that gets like thrown around when she's like being talked about. So dream pop, like a little bit of alternative. This one has some like desert rock and psychedelic rock to it, and things like that. So various genres here. One thing I really want to talk about is the album artwork. I know in a lot of her songs and lyrics, she kind of, and even just on like the visuals of like the album artwork and things like that, goes with a very like 1970s aesthetic. I think it like really suits kind of like the music that she's making. And then also the cover of this album, one of my favorite like covers from her albums. It's like, you got the black and white photography, and it kind of has this thing where it's vaguely nostalgic. Like it feels like it's something like a photo that you could have taken in the 70s. I think the cover for Lust for Life is probably even more in that vein, where she's got like the whatever the clothes are, but she's like posed against like an old. Don't know the year necessarily, but it definitely looks like a pickup truck from the 1970s. Even some of the lyrics of like Brooklyn Baby, she talks about like the quote freedom land of the 70s. So I think like she definitely like pulls that aesthetic a lot for what she's writing and singing about, and also for the album artwork. Even the Ocean Boulevard like cover, it kind of has a retro kind of feel to it. The version that I have on vinyl is actually an alternate cover, so that I can't really like pull that out to show you because it like totally looks different than the one that you could just that's the normal cover that looks like a cover from like the 70s or maybe even like late 60s. But just like the album cover on this is just I think an iconic album cover from her. What else we have here? Another thing, bit of my research was Lou Reed is mentioned in Brooklyn Baby, and I think she was actually supposed to work with Lou Reed. But I think Lou Reed passed away in 2013. If I'm just gonna double check that. Yeah, let me just double check here. Yeah, Lou Reed passed away October 27th, 2013. So, according to my research, she was supposed to work with Lou Reed on this album, and I think like went to New York to meet him, and that ended up being the day that he actually passed away. Kind of a very weird, like not weird necessarily, but almost eerie like turn of events. I think the same kind of thing happened to Pierce Brosnan, unrelated to music, of course. But Pierce Brosnan, I think when he moved from like Ireland to England, it ended up being the day that Ian Fleming died, and then of course later in his career he would play James Bond, obviously based on the Ian Fleming books. I think GoldenEye is actually an original story that they kind of created for the film, but it wasn't based on one of his books. But kind of just one of those weird like coincidences where like she goes to New York to meet Lou Reed on the day he passes away. Pierce Brosnan moves to like England, and then the same day Ian Fleming passes away. It's just kind of like a weird like turn of events. But the album came out to very good reviews. I'm actually pull those review scores up here really quick. So Metacritic has it at a 74 out of 100. AllMusic has it at a 4 out of 5. Billboard had it at a 4 out of 5 as well. Entertainment Weekly has it at an A. The Guardian has it at a 4 out of 5. LA Times has it at a 3 out of 4. Pitchfork at a 7.1 out of 10. And again, like on the series we discussed, Pitchfork is kind of a little, I think a little harsher on the reviews. Rolling Stone has it at looks like a 3.5 out of 5, and then Spin had it at an 8 out of 10. So overall, I think pretty good reviews. Made a lot of year-end lists in 2014. So Entertainment Weekly ended up at 10 best albums of that year, ended up at number 4. Billboard top 14 pop albums of the year ended up at 14. Again, I don't really consider her music to be pop necessarily, but it definitely is pop adjacent, like alt pop or whatever you want to call it. Let's see what other Time had it at number 5 out of their top 10 albums. Spin had it at 5 out of their top 20. Slant had it at 3 out of their top 25. Rolling Stone, again, they were going with pop on this one. Top 20 pop albums of 2014, it made it to number 3. So just a lot of really good, like year-end list for the album. Actually, now we're going to get into our track list here. And we'll actually do the deluxe edition as well. So the standard edition of this album has 11 tracks, and it comes in at 51 minutes and 24 seconds. Track 1 is Cruel World. That's a really good track there. The longest track on the album at a little over 6 minutes. Track 2 is Ultraviolence. Track 3 is Shades of Cool. It's a really great track there. Track 4 is Brooklyn Baby. Probably my favorite track on the album. And just like the lyrics on this track, the music, I like, and even like this is the song that Lou Reed gets mentioned in. It's kind of weird when other artists mention other artists in their music, but in this track, like she name drops Lou Reed, but it just sounds very natural. It like actually fits the song perfectly because he's like, my boyfriend's in the band. It's like he plays guitar while I sing Lou Reed. and then it goes into the rest of the song. Probably my favorite track on the album, like quite easily, I think. Anyway, track 5 is West Coast. Track 6 is Sad Girl. Track 7 is Pretty When You Cry. That's track 7. Track 8 is Money Power Glory. Track 9, F My Way Up to the Top. Even though like the lyrics in that one are kind of like really kind of like on the nose, it works in on the album, even though it's kind of like the lyrics are kind of a bit like, I don't want to say cringy, but they're kind of like going in that direction, I should say. But it totally works on the album too. Track 10 is Old Money. And then final track on the standard edition is track 11 with The Other Woman. And then into the deluxe edition, we have track 12 is Black Beauty. I think that was originally like a demo, and then it ended up getting on. It didn't end up getting on to the main album, but made it to the deluxe edition. Track 13 is Guns N' Roses. And then track 14 is Florida Kilos. Really good track, and I know a lot of fans talk about that one, but it's also really cool that it's on the deluxe edition of that. So, like I said, first time I listened to the album, I just did the standard edition. That was last year. And then when I listened to it again recently, I did the deluxe edition. And I absolutely really like her music. I kind of thought it was funny when she was like kind of just like, didn't know if this album was going to come out. And I know she's kind of like announced albums and has like pushed back albums and like entirely sometimes scrapped albums and like overall. I think she was supposed to do a country album. I think it was originally called Lasso. That I forget what. I think she changed the name of the album. Forget what she changed it to. It's still unreleased, but I think like she basically was like, "Oh yeah, that album's not coming out. We're going to like go back and like redo a bunch of it." So she's been known to just kind of like throw stuff out there and then like be like, "Oh well, we're not doing that." So I really do appreciate what an artist is like. Like whatever I was working on before is just maybe, like not something I want to release. Maybe it's just not good. So I do like that she doesn't just throw something out there to get an album out. She's not going to be proud of the work she's putting out. That's cool that she basically just is comfortable, being like, I worked on that album, don't like the way it sounds, we're not going to do it. We'll change direction or do whatever. And then just overall, I just think that she is like effortless. Oh yeah, I knew I was going to mispronounce this word or have trouble with it, but effortlessly cool and just incredible. I mean, if she does a U.S. tour again, I would definitely be interested in going and checking her out. I think she's only doing some UK dates so far later this year. Obviously, can't go to those, but Ultraviolence. That's going to wrap up this episode. Just an incredible album. Easily one of my favorite albums from her. It's probably going to be the next one from her that I actually get on vinyl. Like I said, I have NFR and Ocean Boulevard, and this will kind of complete at least my top 3. I eventually want to get all of them on vinyl as well. But that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.